Good morning, Administrator Wheeler. Thank you for being here this morning. I have quite a few topics to cover, so I hope we can move through this fairly quickly with our limited time. In June of this year, the staff of the EPA Region 6 lab in Houston were informed that the lab would be shut down and the scientists and engineers would be relocated to the ORD lab in Ada, Oklahoma to consolidate space. You touched on this issue a little bit in your remarks, but I remain concerned, and more important, my constituents are very concerned that this lab consolidation will lead to significant brain drain, as many of the EPA employees may not be able to relocate, resulting in a loss of key technical expertise. This is an issue that has come up at my town halls in Houston. So I think it's really important. I sent a letter to you with some of my colleagues in the Houston delegation on July 12th asking you to reconsider this closure, and I would like to know when we can expect a response to our July 12th letter.
We're trying to get a response to you as quickly as possible.
And as I'm sure you know, Houston has experienced increasingly frequent and intense storms like Imelda that's happening right now, and all in the same space as arguably the world's largest petrochemical complex. And so there's a lot of risk in our region that we remain concerned about and want that EPA, the scientists on the ground there. And in fact, in some of these disasters, the EPA scientists have really been another kind of first responder, if you will, that are there to protect the water and air quality and to inform the public. I assume you would agree with me that the public has a right to be informed about the dangers in the water and the air.
Absolutely, but the scientists we would be moving to Ada, Oklahoma are not our first responders. Our first responders will remain in Texas, plus we will have a small lab facility left in Texas behind. But we were directed by Congress to consolidate our space, reduce the size of our footprint. It was a 2016 legislation, I believe, told us to get out of leased spaces and try to consolidate to GSA or EPA-owned space. And the lab in Houston is my understanding, is in very poor shape and would require a lot of government investment to bring that lab up to the quality of lab that the people in 6 deserve.
And I appreciate that, Administrator Wheeler, but it is my understanding that those employees who are staying will be relocated to another lab. So it seems that because there will be new space that is obtained, that our request that the scientists remain in Houston on the ground to be able to perform testing and do things immediately is important. And again, there's a larger concern that this speaks to about the overall concerns for brain drain across the country as folks are relocated. And it's no disrespect to my colleagues from Oklahoma. I'm just south of Oklahoma, but certainly in the world that we live in, some of these scientists may have families who are unable to relocate, either because of spouses' professions, because of children's commitments, because of medical commitments, whatever it is. So it is hard to relocate so many people. And what we have seen is that there has been a significant departure from the EPA over the last few years. And so do you agree? I assume you agree that it's essential that the EPA fulfill its mission to protect the environment and public health.
Absolutely.
Yes? And do you agree with me that the loss of scientists to levels that we haven't seen since the 1980s is a concern?
Absolutely. 40% of our workforce is eligible to retire over the next 5 years. I hired a new human resource manager this start this spring, and recruiting new scientists is a huge concern of ours. I actually interviewed the human resource manager. I'm told that EPA administrators don't typically do that. That's 3 or 4 levels below, but I wanted to make sure that we got the right person to help us guide the agency.
Administrator Wheeler, I have limited time, so I want to get to one other question, then I will have some additional questions to submit for the record. But in our Transportation and Infrastructure Subcommittee on Water Resources and Environment hearing yesterday, I asked your Assistant Administrator for the Office of Water, David Ross, for clarification on the EPA's justification to reverse the 2016 decision to issue new rules to safeguard against the release of hazardous substances into local water bodies and drinking sources. He said it was rulemaking out of the Office of Land and Emergency Management that was not his program. Is it true that the Water Office is not involved in decisions regarding the release of hazardous substances into water bodies?
They are involved, but in fact, that particular regulation that you were referring to, that we decided no additional regulations were needed, we have other regulatory programs that protect that, including under the water program, under EPCRA, and under CERCLA. And if you don't mind, I'd like to submit, I don't know, for the record or to you, a paper outlining what we're doing under America's Water Infrastructure Act that was signed by Congress last year that addresses this problem.
Thank you. I'll submit my additional questions for the record. And Chairwoman Johnson, may I also submit the letter that we sent on July 12th for the record as well?
No objection.
Thank you. I have
Thank you, Ms.
exceeded my time, so I yield back. Thank you.